Hi everyone, I'm back today with 5 more cards that I made with Simon Says Stamps March 2020 card kit. If you want to see the cards that I made yesterday, these 4 cards here on the right, just go and check out yesterday's video. So top right is yesterday's video and the bottom left is today's video. So let's go ahead and get started with the cards for today. So for the first card, we are going to use the watercolor pencils and we are going to make a fun rainbow design in the corners of the cards. So I selected about 7 or 8 of the watercolor pencils that I thought would make a nice rainbow, and I'm just using my ruler on a diagonal on the edges of my A2 size card panel. This is Arch's watercolor cardstock. I think any watercolor cardstock would work. This just happens to be what I had on hand. And then I'm going to take a water brush and I'm going to pull the color out of those little lines, making sure to clean my brush off periodically as I go color to color. So we have our red, and then we go to orange, and then yellow, and then some green. And if my brush gets a little dry, just pick up from that little drop that I've spread on my craft mat in the upper left-hand corner. And we're just going to work our way down the rainbow. This was super fun to do. You could also do it with a watercolor paintbrush if that's what you have. If you want to see how to color with these pencils using a watercolor paintbrush, then check out yesterday's video. Yesterday's video, I used paintbrushes. For today, I'm using the water pen, just so that you could see how the different types of tools work with these pencils. And I'm just adding another rainbow to the other edge of the card. Had so much time making that first one, I just couldn't stop. So I'm going to just spread the color out really quickly, cleaning my brush off as I go along. And we're going to get that real pretty bright rainbow on either edge of the card. So for this card, I thought we would start off with a clean and simple design. This card took maybe 5 minutes to make. It's really simple. We're not going to die cut this panel at all. It's just a simple A2 size card. And we're going to stamp the sentiment that says "We're always stronger together" in black VersaFine ink in the center of the card, and then add a little heart, and that heart is from the Stronger Together stamp set. And then I'm just going to use the watercolor pencils to color in my little heart there. And that's all. So that is our first card for today. I just love that simple sentiment. This is a great encouragement card. And for the second one, I also did some watercoloring with the watercolor pencils. These are the colors that I used. I did do the coloring off screen. If you want to learn how to color the leaves and the stems, then check out my video from yesterday, where I go pretty in depth on a couple of the cards on how to color in the leaves and the branches. And I am using the Hello die from the card kit, and I just die cut out 2 pieces of white cardstock and then 1 piece of that real pretty watercolor green pattern paper that is included with the kit. I had a little bit left over from another card design, and I thought it would just make a real pretty soft hello for this card panel. I have taken 2 pieces of the pattern paper, and this is an A2 size panel with the leaves, and then this is a thinner panel with the stripes, and I just placed our focal panel right on top. I'm going to pop everything up on foam tape and then add it to the center of our card. And I just love that watercolor rainbow design with the blues and the greens and the teals, and we're just going to put our little hello right there by the crisscross, and that's it. So that is card number 2. Moving on to card number 3, I am also using these A2 thin frames by Simon Says Stamp. I think they are great frames for watercolor type cards, and I just cut out my frames using the pattern paper and some silver cardstock that I had on hand ahead of time, and I'm just showing you the different pieces that you can get here. I am using the largest 3 rectangles in the die set, and we're going to make 2 cards out of the little pieces that we've cut out here from these 2 pieces of cardstock. So this is going to be a shaker card. So I am attaching some acetate to the back of our center panel, and We are going to inlay the thin frame right here. So I'm using some liquid adhesive. You can use the craft tacky glue that comes with the kit, but I already had an open bottle on hand, so I'm using my art glitter glue. Both the same thing, both have thin applicators, so you should be able to use the glue in the kit just fine. And now I'm going to adhere our next thin border. I'm just applying the glue really, really carefully, and it's going to sit right on top of the frame. So I thought that this would be a pretty look. Sometimes you can inlay the frame, sometimes you can place the frame right on top of your cardstock, depending on what look you are going for. And I thought, why not mix and match and do both for this card? I am going to stamp the sentiment right onto our pattern paper. I just love these beautiful rosy pink little flowers, and that is black VersaFine ink. I'm going to lay this panel right in the center of the card and then add some little clear sequins that I had on hand to the center. Make sure that it's nice and full, and then add our shaker panel to the top. I added 2 rows of foam tape, or 2 layers of foam tape to the back of this card panel. I'm just going to place it right over top. And that's it. So here is our real pretty shaker card. I love the sentiment, hello again, I've missed you. This is a real pretty card to let a friend know or a family member know that you miss them and they're on your mind. For card number 4, we're going to use some of the little pieces from card number 3. And I also cut out some more frames using the cornflower blue cardstock that's in the kit. We are going to use the sentiment, call me or text me, whatever. I just thought that it was a cute casual saying for this real pretty floral themed card. We are going to do some copic coloring here. So I'm stamping with my Distress ink in antique linen, and it was a new ink, so it's like super juicy, so that's why the lines look so thick. And we're going to use G20 for the base of the leaf. So I was going for a no line coloring look here. But again, my ink pad was a little bit juicier than I expected, so it's going to look a little less no line than usual, but it's still going to be pretty. For the edging on the leaves, I'm going to use G28. So the colors for the leaves that we're using here are G20, G24, and G28. But any of your favorite greens or yellow greens would work just beautifully here. Maybe even some turquoise colors would look really, really nice as well. And I'm going to apply that G24 to the opposite edge. And then I'm going to blend everything together with my G20. And this is Nina Solar White cardstock, 110-pound weight. It felt really, really differently to me because I have been using the Express It blending card for my Copic coloring. So it was just interesting, like how different the paper feels when you're used to another kind of paper. This Nina cardstock is definitely much more absorbent than the Express It blending card, where the color tends to sit on top of the surface of the page and it allows you to blend really, really easily. So I had to work a little bit more on my blends on the Nina Solar White, but still an excellent option for Copic coloring. And then I'm just going to add some little shiny highlights to the curve of the leaf. And then on the curves, the little hearts, and my gel pen is running out. So that's why I kind of tap it on the corners of my white mat to get it flowing again. And I'm just going to attach the frame to our A2 size card base. And then I'm going to use my liquid adhesive. I'm just going to run it along the rim here so that we can add our thin frame. And the thin frames for this card are going to be the tiny little thin frames that were cut out of those beautiful watercolor pattern papers from card number 3. I just think they're so pretty. I'm going to lay down another really, really thin line of glue here, right along the edge. And then we'll add in our little cornflower rectangle. And I think it's real pretty. So, you know, there are different ways you can use these thin frame dies. It's a really pretty look to use silver or gold cardstock, but it's also a beautiful look to add some pattern paper for your rim as well. And then this is that other frame that comes from that other piece of that beautiful watercolor cardstock. And then our center panel that we just colored in is going to sit right in the center. So I'm just going to add some liquid adhesive around the edges and then add it all through the center of the card as well. And then we will sit our panel right in the center here, and it pops in perfectly. Okay, so that is it. So that is it for card number 4. So let's move on to our last card. So for the last card, we are going to stamp our image with Memento black ink because we're going to do some Copic coloring here. So Memento black ink is the ink that you use for Copics, and VersaFine black ink is the ink that you use if you want to do some watercoloring. And then if you want to do no line coloring, you can use Distress ink, and that will work for either Copics or watercolors either. So for these leaves, I'm using G40, G43, and G46. I thought it would be fun just to see how differently the G40s are from the G20s. So for card number 4, our leaves were colored with the G20s, and for this one, it's G40. Same exact technique as card number 4. And then I thought the background needed a little color, and I love the way violet looks with green. So I'm just adding in some BV 0000. It's a really, really light color to the background. And then for our branches, we're going to use E70s. So E70s are a real nice, soft alternative. They have kind of purple undertones to them with the E70s, which is why I thought it would look nice with our green leaves and the purple background. And what I was trying to say is the 70s are a little softer than the E40s. E40s would work here as well for the branches. It'd be a nice kind of cool color. And then I'm just going to blend everything together. So I'm using E79 to make the little knots in the wood. And then I use the other E70 color, the lighter ones, just to make the actual bark. And then I thought our background needs to be a little darker. So I'm using some BV31 just to get a little darker of a blue violet shade here, being careful to go around the leaves as I reach them. And then if you want to know how to watercolor these images with the watercolor pencils, just check out my video from yesterday. There is a whole bunch of watercoloring going on with these images in yesterday's video. So now I'm going to peel off the tape, and then we're going to add our sentiment. So this is also from the Stronger Together stamp set. And I just love the sentiment here. It says, "Though we're far apart, you're always in my heart." And if you want to see another way to use this sentiment, check out yesterday's video. So I'll show you a different way to kind of use it. And I cut out some more silver frames for this card using those thin frames from Simon Says Stamp. And I'm just going to apply my adhesive to the back of the frames. Just going very, very easily here. Another way to do this, if you, just don't like having to put glue on such a thin frame, you could also just stick your cardstock to some Stick It and kind of make a sticker out of the frame and then apply it that way. I just, I don't mind using the thin adhesive on the thin frame, so that's why I did it my way. And then we're just going to add this silver frame along the edges. And if you see that you get any glue on the thin frames, you can just kind of buff it off with your finger or a tissue. It's such a small area, you're not going to really notice. And then for our center panel, I'll place that right in the center and then add another silver frame around it. So I'm just pressing down, making sure that those frames are adhered. And then I'm going to add another thin layer of glue to the edges, and you want the thinnest layer that you can possibly manage because these are really, really tiny 1/8 of an inch frames. And then I thought it needed a little heart, so I just stamped a heart, and I didn't get the best impression, so I just filled it in with my Copic multiliner, and then we'll color them in with some red Copic markers. These are R27, 29, and 39. And that's it. So that is card 5. Let's take a look back through our 5 cards today. So here is our rainbow themed We Are Always Stronger Together card. We have another watercolor pencil card with our little hello card using the die from the kit and some pattern papers. And then we have our shaker card with the thin frames from Simon Says Stamps and some of the watercolor paper from the kit. And I just love the softness of that color palette for that card. And then we have card number 4, which is our Copic colored cards. This is the no line coloring Copic version. And then we have our Copic version, but this time it's lined. So this time you can see the black line around it. And that's it. So those are the cards I have for you today, everyone. If you want to see some more cards from this kit, check out my video from yesterday. I posted 4 cards in that kit, and they are all using the watercolor pencils in the kits. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I wish everyone a wonderful day.